class was built by a Yakuza leader, and it was attacked recently by another Yakuza clan. Therefore, you see remnants. You see some weapons are scattered through the layout.
So it's a full-on like gang war that took place in there.
Yeah, you'll see some blood stains on the walls and the floors. So.
Nice. And some of the detail in this map is some of the really highest quality I've seen in the past. Tell us a little bit about the detail of the structure and the textures and the architecture.
Yeah, well, you have traditional versus modern, and what's great about it is in different rooms you'll have some very iconic things, like you'll have a karaoke room, you'll have a Japanese tea room, you'll see tatamis spread across the floors, and you'll see translucent walls like you see in Japan.
So like the translucent paper walls that you have, or doorways or something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have to say the karaoke room is one of my favorites. As we look at some of these designs, the first time I played on this map, I just got lost like looking at some of the design. It was so beautiful and so cool.
Yeah, and gameplay wise, there's a lot of open spaces, and we have 3 iconic spawn points, one which is the tower, the helicopter pad, and my favorite, the basically skyscraper wall spawn point.
So now that's a rappel spawn point, right?
That's right. It's a very high risk, high reward. It's good for players that want to rush and attack. But if they take that route, it'll be more vulnerable, and they can be attacked by defenders.
That's going to be really interesting. So a lot of interesting angles, a lot of good angles that you can play here, a lot of great rooms, and a lot of destruction, right? Talk about the destruction about the map. What does it remind you of?
Well, I'd say it's a lot of fun. You know, going into these traditional style Japanese homes, setting up a breach and blowing up a wall, it's great. It mixes really well with the aesthetic.
Nice.
And once you go from interior to exterior, all of a sudden you're outside. You get a sense of vertigo because you're on top of a building.
And there's a little bit of difference between night and day, right?
Oh yeah, at nighttime you see the neon lights in the city. In the daytime you got more of a sunrise, you see the clouds. And so it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. And Macy J, you know, you got a chance to try this map out. What did you think of it?
I like it. Overall, it's fantastic. What I liked the most was the balance of destructibility. It seemed like the other DLC maps kind of struggled, Yacht not having enough destructibility, Favela having too much. This one really found the balance. Kind of like Chalet. I want to compare it to Chalet just because it really has that perfect balance.
Nice. And Chalet is a favorite map in the Pro League, definitely. Speaking of Pro League, Simon, we invited some Pro League players to try out this map. What did they think about it?
Yeah, we did. We invited a couple of players to the Ubisoft Montreal studio. They tried it out, and they thought it was like really fun to play. It really felt competitive. It felt more like one of the old school classic maps.
So like House or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it strikes like to them it strikes.
機械の方が優秀なんだから使わない手はない。
Supernova as a shotgun as a main weapon, and for a secondary weapon he's gonna have the Bearing 9, which is kind of a machine pistol like the Mach 11, and the P229, which is a classic pistol.
Nice. And you mentioned that the Bearing 9 is a machine pistol, kind of like the SMG 11, Mach 11. I think.
Type 89 assault rifle. She's gonna have also like the Supernova, the shotgun, the same as Echo, and as secondary weapon she will have the Bearing 9 and the P229 too.
Nice. So pretty versatile. You know, at Loadout, one of the new features that we're introducing, or one of the polishing features we're introducing, is caliber-based destruction. And let's take a look at some of what caliber-based destruction is. And Simon, could you please explain to us what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so as you know in the game, right now you only have one standard caliber size for all guns, and that wasn't really granular enough for us. So as you can see, there are 5 calibers now in the game, and each of them act differently on the destruction system. So you see like pistols make smaller holes, and they make smaller collapsing holes. So and the assault rifle will make bigger holes because they're higher caliber.
Right. So the entire weapon system has been kind of taking this into account, and is going to create new ways of people how they approach their murder holes creation, or how they approach even getting through an objective or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And as you can see, it's not only the assault rifles that like produce big holes.
The
like,
Deagle going crazy
yeah,
on
just
walls,
shredding
right?
the walls, right? Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of an interesting play. Miles, how do you think caliber-based destruction is going to affect how players approach the new map Skyscraper and some of the old maps?
Well, I think it's a great tool set for defending players. It's depending on how they want to approach it, it'll allow them to create different kinds of layouts to defend with. But on the attacking side, they'll be able to identify what guns they're using at the same time. So.
Nice, yeah, and it's going to be kind of changing the way that attackers and defenders, approach their destruction and murder.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, cool. Macy J, what are your thoughts on it?
Overall, I like it. It's adding an additional dynamic to the game, and I'm actually hoping that this will kind of draw players towards the less favored weapons. We do have certain weapons that are more likely to be picked, and having this little element might change that up a bit.
Definitely adds a little bit of variety and thought process to your loadout, and that's definitely kind of an interesting thought too. Where as you can see, we have 3 that are launching with Season 4. We have Capcan, is a full head-to-toe uniform that customizes everything, including Sledge's unique sledgehammer, unique operator ability with his sledgehammer. It completely changes the way that looks. And then there's also these victory winning screens, which are so cool, including that thermite one. What do you guys think of that? That's pretty Artlet University being played for the very first time. And Miles, why don't you walk us through it?
This is a map that's been highly anticipated by the players. And the reason why it was pushed back for so long is it was originally a single-player map that you found in Siege. It was like the 11th and final situation of the game. And because of that, it was heavily focused on single-player. And since then, we've decided to open it up, make it much more multiplayer, do a big overhaul, and add lots of things like lots of destruction, lots of covers, redesign a lot of the rooms. And so that's the direction we took.
Nice, and as you were saying, this was a PvE map that has been transformed and redesigned for PvP. There were a few things in there, like a ladder, that wouldn't really make sense in PvP, right?
That's right. The ladder's gone. All the smoke is gone. It's much more clean. And we've also changed a lot of the textures on the different floors.
So tell us a little bit about those textures. What do you mean by changing them? Why did you have to change them?
Well, since the original one, there was smoke everywhere. It had a very different aesthetic, so we had to change a lot of the textures. And we also had to make the different rooms more recognizable for PvP. And that's something that's really important. The players need to always know which room they're in. So
right, there's a little bit of visual language, like we saw in Favelas, right, where there's you can spot out like green, red.
That's right.
Blue, yeah. So that's going to be really interesting. And now tell us a little bit about the destructibility. You had to increase and change some of the destructibility.
Yeah, we added a lot more destruction. We also added a entrance from the rooftop, so now you can blow up the roof and go through.
Nice.
And it's also got a mezzanine. It's probably the biggest one we've seen so far in Siege.
So a huge skylight, right?
Huge skylight, yeah.
Yeah, is it the biggest one?
It's the biggest one so far, and
nice.
It's also the longest building we've had.
So when you say that it's a long building, it means there's going to be a lot of really long sight lines, right?
That's right. And also there's 120